Boycott Driscolls!
Boycott Driscolls!
Boycott Driscolls!
Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries!
NAFTA! Boycott Driscoll! Cancel NAFTA! Boycott Driscoll! Cancel NAFTA!
The Driscoll workers, there are 80,000 workers, farm workers in San Quintin, Baja California, that are working for $7 a day for 12 hours of work. They pick our berries, the ones that we go to the supermarket that we really love, the blueberries, the strawberries, all those really nice, beautiful strawberries that we see. Well, they're picked up by children also. They have child labor who get paid $7 a day under the hot, grueling sun to pick berries. They have been fighting for a collective bargaining agreement for more than 2 years. They've suffered repercussions as well as firing without any kind of just cause, and they've been organizing, and their union has not been recognized by Driscolls. So we demand that we boycott Driscoll until they get a collective bargaining agreement and are recognized and have a good working conditions.
Was more of the same, if not worse. It retained all the corporate agenda items, made no even pretense, one small pretense of a change. It claimed that it would contain labor rights, this time not as side agreements, but in the body of the agreement. Again, all those items were mere token means to get the labor movement on board. The San Francisco Labor Council on Monday voted a resolution which a number of us submitted. Tom Lacey, who's here, a delegate from OPEIU and others, submitted this resolution. I was among them, saying NAFTA has to be canceled. Cancel NAFTA. Build solidarity among workers in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Organize militant actions to stop NAFTA. Support the farm workers in San Quintin who are organizing and calling for a boycott of Driscolls. 80,000 of them without the recognition of their union. They were able to form a union, but the bosses, at the behest of Driscolls, are refusing to sign a collective bargaining agreement. This renegotiation is a sham. We here are here to denounce it, to say the labor movement must take a stand against it, to oppose it frontally, to say NAFTA's got to go. If there's got to be a new treaty, let start from scratch. Let the workers in all of the countries that are involved, let them be the architects and the masters of their own destiny. Let sovereignty of the Mexican people be respected. Let labor rights be respected. So we're here to send that signal. We're here to send it loud and clear. We're here to say no to this wall of shame that is being built. 990 miles have already been built under Republicans and Democrats. Trump just merely wants to extend it. We say no to the wall, the entire wall, not just that wall that Trump wants to build, but to the wall that has already been built with bipartisan funding and support along the border. Tear down the wall of shame, build solidarity, build unity among the workers, not one more deportation. So I'm going to turn it over to some of the people who are here with us. We have representatives. In fact, we have a number of representatives. And then I'm going to open up the mic to all those who wish to speak and to present their point of view. Let's start here with Tom, who helped put this resolution onto the agenda of the San Francisco Labor Council this past Monday night. Speaking on behalf also of the Central Committee of the Peace and Freedom Party of California.
Thank you, Alan. As chair of the San Francisco Peace and Freedom Party, the only explicitly socialist feminist party with ballot status in the state of California, may I direct your attention to the fact that we first attained ballot status in 1967. What does that mean? It means that we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. The Peace and Freedom Party founders saw clearly that the anti-war and civil rights movements were building enormous force at that time, while neither the Republican and Democratic parties refused to recognize it. We did. Those of us who had the benefit of an exposure to Marxist economics recognize the mythology of free trade when we see it. The North American Free Trade Agreement was never free and had precious little to do with trade. The labor and full employment sections of the Peace and Freedom Party platform spell it out in bullet points. International trade agreements must guarantee the protection of workers and democratic rights in all participating countries. Defend workers' rights to organize, form union caucuses, strike, and boycott. No replacement of striking workers, and international solidarity of workers against international capitalist schemes such as NAFTA, WTO, in defense of jobs, wages, working conditions, and environmental laws. Trump pretended right up through his inauguration speech that he was in favor of trade agreements that would help disenfranchised workers. Now we've had a peek at the 18-page memo for renegotiation. It's clear that he had no serious intention of doing anything of the sort. Among other things, it appears that the TPP he also vowed to put a stop to is actually being hustled right back into play through the NAFTA back door. Further, since I have a mostly labor audience here, I might add that we need to be very wary of all improving infrastructure proposals coming out of this administration. I think we can assume the worst. More bait and switch will be the likely outcome. In other words, public funding turned over to Trump's buddies and transnational corporations, the private sector. Let's just say no to Driscoll strawberries.
So thank you, Tom. Do we have someone else who would like to speak? Art? Not prepared? Charles?
Yeah, my name is Charles Minster. I'm a retired trade unionist here in San Francisco. And NAFTA, what it's done to it's devastated Mexico. The crime that has taken over a large area of Mexico is you can strictly follow it from the imposition of NAFTA, which broke up the peasantry of Mexico and drove them out of the country, and many of them have come here because of that. And meanwhile, with no jobs and the breakup of an economy that has been there for hundreds of years, there's going to be people looking to make money any way they can, and drugs become a problem. So that can be laid right at the foot of NAFTA. That's what caused it. And in this country, what it's done is it's promoted agribusiness, the large agribusiness companies that are exporting corn and other staples to Mexico that were once grown there by this peasantry. And I don't know how many jobs that's garnered, but hell, it hasn't been many, I'll tell you that. But it's made a lot of money for these big agribusinesses like Monsanto and Cargill and the rest. So these trade agreements are entirely put on by the big corporations who run the governments of all the world, and they're not benefiting us at all. And the idea that labor even gave any kind of a help to support this is ludicrous. And the only thing that it helped was give them a little time in the White House once in a while, because that's all they wanted. They don't want to lead us in a struggle. So we need to dump this leadership that's in control of the AFL-CIO and put in revolutionary leadership that can lead the workers and the oppressed of this country in a real struggle against the corporations. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Charles. Lisa Milos.
Hello, my name is Lisa Milos, and I'm a member of UPTI, but I'm speaking on my own behalf. I just hope everybody understands this. I want to say that NAFTA, as a woman in particular, NAFTA has facilitated the murder of Mexican women who work at the maquilladora factories and are being exploited. It has facilitated the murder because of the drug cartels that kill women, working women on the border. Also, the Mexican workers have lost, through privatization, very important industries that would have sustained their economy. But because NAFTA came into effect, it flooded, their markets were flooded, and there was basically capital was allowed to buy off these major nationalized industries, including oil. I would also like to say that NAFTA facilitates environmental racism and environmental destruction, such as what's going on in Canada with the tar sands, Keystone Pipeline, because according to NAFTA, countries do not have the sovereign power to regulate their environment or environmental regulations. So indigenous nations are directly affected by NAFTA all throughout the Americas, and we've seen this in Canada, we've seen this in Standing Rock, we've seen this in the indigenous communities in Mexico that are facing displacement through these major dams, energy company projects. So it's kind of disingenuous to expect Trump to renegotiate a better NAFTA. One of the points that I want to make is that a lot of leaders in the labor union in the United States think that basically they're putting some conditions, and they're stating certain conditions under which NAFTA would be acceptable. And one of them is to eliminate the provisions that give corporations enhanced powers, especially the private system of justice, only available to corporations, known as the investor-state dispute settlement. I really, really doubt that the corporations are going to give that up. Do you? Do you think that they're going to give that up, that power up? So it's kind of disingenuous to expect them to do that. Also, the member of the labor unions believe that that NAFTA should include provisions to protect human rights, environment, migrant, indigenous people, workers' rights, including the core ILO, International Labor Organization Conventions on Workers' Rights, as part of the core text of the agreement. Do really, really believe that the corporations are going to do that? Are we, I mean, considering not only this administration, but considering this administration, do we really think that that's possible under this administration? So I just would like to close by saying that it's very disingenuous of the labor movement to believe, or the leaders of the labor movement to believe, that this is at all possible, and that if at any time it's important to cancel NAFTA, would be now, precisely because there are so many members of the Manufacturing Council that got completely disgusted with Trump and got off the council because of his racist views. So it would be a perfect time to basically show Trump as the corporate whore that he is, by basically telling him, okay, comply with your promise to the working people of the U.S., cancel NAFTA. He won't, but we should ask him to anyways.
Thank you. Just this one point on the question that Lisa Milos raises about labor rights. They have thrown a little bit of a crumb to the labor movement to get them to buy into this. They are saying to the labor movement, we will consider and we will ask that labor rights, the fundamental charter of the labor rights, be incorporated into this agreement. But this charter on labor rights of the ILO doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean having to include in your national labor legislation any of those rights. It's just saluting an empty document that was put there to replace the ILO conventions themselves. So there's a little bit of an underhanded way of the labor movement saying, well, we got something.
But who's going to enforce it?
Nobody's, of course, it's not going to be enforced. And the same president who's claiming that he's giving us something is pushing for a federal right-to-work law that would gut unions. He's pushing the Keystone. Everything that he does and that he stands for is opposed to any kind of idea of a better NAFTA. Using the term better NAFTA is buying into this rhetoric. It's accepting the destruction of our rights, of our environment. It's going along with the, as Brother Charles said, the dismantling of the countryside in Mexico that has pushed millions of peasants off the land. And then they claim, where are they coming from? They're the ones responsible for destroying the communities south of the border and for the millions who are fleeing to try to improve and provide food for their families. This is at the doorstep of NAFTA, of the multinational corporations. Anything, and Driscoll is one of the key organizers of that exploitation of farm worker labor south of the border. The strawberries, and so that's why today in Los Angeles, in Sacramento, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. that I know of, there are actions, and one of the key demands is boycott Driscolls. Many of the actions are taking place at Costco's, where people are reactivating the Driscolls boycott campaign. This is a very important launching pad. We are going to be organizing a conference to promote nationally this boycott December 2nd at California State University, Dominguez Hills in Los Angeles. Put that on your calendar, please. Make sure that you're there because the 80,000 workers need our support. They need to get a union that's recognized and a collective bargaining agreement. That's the kind of unionism that we're for, not the token pieces of paper that don't represent anything while the bosses and their twin parties go after us. Are there any other sisters or brothers who would like to make any statements at this time? All right.
These corporate trade agreements are charters of rights for big business globally. When are we going to have charters of rights that place workers, people, and the environment at the top? What is our vision? How is that going to happen? How can we get ourselves out from under this tyranny? We declared our independence from King George, but here we are, serfs and slaves to corporations. Anybody can see that's not right.
Well, it's going to be organizing independently, building our own forces from below, calling upon those in power to do the right thing or get out of the way, and in most cases they're going to have to get out of the way. I don't see any leadership coming from anywhere at this point. It's to the credit of the San Francisco Labor Council that it took and that it passed this resolution. It's 20 years of policy by our council in opposition to NAFTA, so it's very, very important that this message go out and be adopted as much as possible, as widely as possible within the labor movement. So if we don't have
something, chant.
Okay, yes, let's get a chant going here with everybody.
Boycott Driscoll!
Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll.
Yeah.
Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel
NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll. Cancel NAFTA, boycott Driscoll.
Driscoll berries!
Driscoll berries. Driscoll strawberries.
And other berries.
And other berries. It's criminal.
Say it again. Say that again on the Driscoll workers' condition.
Just again, the Driscoll
The Driscoll workers, there are 80,000 workers, farm workers in San Quintin, Baja California, that are working for $7 a day for 12 hours of work. They pick our berries, the ones that we go to the supermarket that we really love, the blueberries, the strawberries, all those really nice, beautiful strawberries that we see. Well, they're picked up by children also. They have child labor who get paid $7 a day under the hot, grueling sun to pick berries. They have been fighting for a collective bargaining agreement for more than 2 years. They've suffered repercussions as well as firing without any kind of just cause, and they've been organizing, and their union has not been recognized by by Driscolls. So we demand that we boycott Driscoll until they get a collective bargaining agreement and are recognized and have a good working conditions.
Boycott Driscolls!
Boycott Driscolls!
Boycott Driscolls!
Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries! Boycott Driscoll berries!